Hello, and welcome to another edition of Save Your Sanity bonus live stream. So glad that you're here. One of the things that I do is I invite people who have been a guest on Emotional Savvy or Save Your Sanity to come back and have some fun with me here on Facebook Live. So today is no exception. Dr. Terri Orbuch is with me, and she was my guest on Emotional Savvy. If you want to go and find her episode on emotionalsavvy.com, go there and have a look for it. You will find it. Just put her name in the search. And welcome to this Facebook Live, Terri.
Thank you for having me, Rhoberta. Great to be here.
Oh, it's fun. I'm so glad that we could do it, and I'm glad you wanted to come out and play.
Absolutely. Come out and play. Yeah.
Well, we get out through the magic of the digital age. We get out of our offices and can play. Because I want to talk with you about some of the best tips that we can offer when you get into this, what I'm calling COVID closeness. We're up close and personal with each other in a surprising way. Maybe we've said, oh, I can hardly wait for retirement when we can be together more. And now all of a sudden it's thrust upon you and you're going, well, we're together a lot. How is this manifesting in the relationship? So, what are your thoughts on this COVID closeness?
Well, first, Rhoberta, I think this COVID closeness, which I love that phrase, that concept, is very unusual for most couples because most couples are not together 24/7 without the distractions of other people, other hobbies and interests. So even if you retire as a couple and you both retire at the same time, which may not always be the case, you still have friends, you still have interests, you still have other family members, you have a parent, you have a child that you go visit. And now you're in the house, and you and your partner, you may have children or not, are together 24/7. And so what used to be minor annoyances now become bigger annoyances. You don't have the same kind of space or privacy that you used to have. And things are heightened in terms of your anxiety, in terms of your fear because of the uncertainty. So we put that all in a bubble and it can explode or it can be managed. And I think today is really, as you said, all about how do we manage all of that so that we can survive and thrive, even improve our relationship.
Well, I think your point is really well taken, that even if we were retired and we were 24/7 with each other, that 24/7 would be populated with grandkids coming by and being invited out to dinner and going to the theater. And we may be with each other, but we wouldn't be focused on each other.
Right.
And now, like, oh, you're still there. I was laughing at one of the Facebook graphics the other day, and this woman is looking at her husband just kind of looking at her and going, could you please blink more quietly? I think we get sometimes to that level. I was thinking today about the phrase familiarity breeds contempt.
Right.
And the fact that the closer we are with somebody, the more we see them on a regular basis, we kind of focus in sometimes on their faults. And the more that we see their faults, the more resentment we get. And the more resentment we get, the more contemptuous we are of their behavior. And pretty much that was what was going on with this woman, thinking, could you blink more quietly? Like, I am so aware of your presence, and I so wish I wasn't.
Right, exactly. And in psychology, Rhoberta, we find that familiarity breeds liking in most situations, especially when we first meet someone.
Excuse me,
But
Terri, but your
yes,
microphone, could you pull it toward you and tilt it toward you?
yes,
Because tilt the microphone
yes.
toward
Can
you.
you hear me better now?
Yeah, but tilt it more toward you. It's straight up. Yeah, keep doing that. Okay, we don't want to miss what you're saying. So
Okay.
please carry
I
on.
apologize. I will carry on. I apologize. So in psychology, I was saying when we look at research studies, we find that in general, familiarity breeds liking. But when we have this confined situation where you can't leave, then familiarity can breed contempt, as you said, because we have all those minor irritations that become exacerbated, that become heightened. And I've heard from couples and partners who are talking about these little things like the toilet paper, like the toothpaste tube, like as you said, in that comic, blinking or how a partner eats. All of a sudden, we are heightened because this is the person that we're focused on 24/7. And that's really one of the best tips or strategies to give people, Rhoberta, and that is ask your partner for space. Even when you're confined in a small apartment, a home, whatever you're in 24/7, it's okay to ask your partner for space. Now, I encourage people out there not to go up to a partner and say, I need space or I want space, but instead, go up to your partner and say, this afternoon, can I have 2 hours to read a book, watch a podcast, to listen to a Facebook Live, whatever you need to do to recoup your energy,
What
to
if what if they say no, Terry?
mm-hmm. Well, and people will say no. And what I encourage you to go back with is, I need X in order to be calm, in order to be stressed, in order to be happy. So that the second possibility is that you're not asking for it, you're telling your partner why you need it. So
Mm-hmm.
I need to read a book this afternoon for 2 hours because I need to be calm. I need to de-stress. And afterwards, this is the second part, I would love to come out and spend some time with you, or do a virtual cooking class or an exercise class with you. Sometimes our partner feels threatened when we need to have space alone. So the one thing is to say the I statement, not the you statement. And the other thing, Rhoberta, is to come back and say afterwards, I want to be with you.
Yeah, so the person doesn't feel any sense of being abandoned. And that's an important thing for us to understand. It sounds like such a global, heady concept that people have a fear of abandonment, but we're born with it. And if we've had poor experiences in the past in relationship, when someone even gives you a whiff of not wanting to be with you, you can go into that place. And it's not that your head doesn't know better, but your heart goes, what? Well, don't you want to be with me? And that's not neediness. It's not something awful. It's just a little tweak that, oh, that's uncomfortable. And if they're not aware in that moment of discomfort, they may come for you. Like, what do you mean? Instead of being self-aware enough to say, oh, yeah, that kind of triggers me. So that when you say, and when we're done, I'd just love to go for a walk with you, the person goes, oh, okay, so it's only 2 hours. For sure, it's only 2 hours, and they really want to be with me.
Exactly. And that's a defensiveness. Because when our partner does something, we tend to take it personally rather than it's about the partner. My partner needs space. It's not that it needs space for me, but my partner needs space. So another thing to remember is, don't take it personally. It's not about you, it's about your partner.
Yes, for sure. And we're still having microphone issues with you. So stay close up.
I am so close.
Up close and personal with the
Up
microphone,
close and
especially when
personal.
we're talking about don't take it personally. Sometimes people even take technology's failures personally.
I
you know,
know.
I've had that
I
situation.
don't. I actually don't, Rhoberta.
Good.
It has absolutely nothing to do with me.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't, and that's good to know. But let's talk about that a little more, because you started with saying, would it be okay with you if I took a couple hours? I wouldn't go there. I would start with, I need a couple of hours, and then, after that, I'd love to do something with you. It stops the dynamic of I have to ask permission to be me.
Right.
And I think that's very important in couples who are ready to develop true emotional intimacy.
Mm-hmm.
And that we learn to be able to hear those things from our partner, not in a permission way. Now, I understand the permission because we're being respectful and kind. I'm not suggesting there's anything wrong with it. But I think as you up your relationship skills with your partner particularly, it's really good to be able to jump into, in order to feel nourished and feel like I can save my sanity, I need to read my book for a couple hours this afternoon. And after that, how about a walk? Is much more instantaneously giving the whole issue in one sentence.
Yes. Oh, no, I love that, Roberta. Very good point. And it's all about those I statements, right? Rather than the you statements. It's
Well, it
I
is,
need.
but I have a big aversion to the whole idea of the old-fashioned I statement. So let's clarify that.
Mhm.
30 years ago, I was sent out to do all these trainings. I'm supposed to teach everybody to do I statements. And I read them and I went, oh no, I don't like this at all.
Mhm.
And so that's when I developed my personal weather report formula. That's when I developed that technique for people, because we get to speak about ourselves,
Mhm.
not in terms of what the other is or isn't doing, but just to get to be able to declare something about what's going on within us, hence the personal weather report.
Mhm.
And so, I'm just making that distinction because I know you're saying speak about yourself, not about the other person. But I
Absolutely.
also want to disabuse the notion of that old-fashioned I statement that we might have hooked in there, which basically said, when you do this, I feel this way. And there's
Yeah.
veiled blame in there. There's all kinds of permutations that can really push a lot of buttons. So I just wanted to make that clear. So COVID closeness is one thing, and familiarity is another.
Mhm.
And sometimes we have kind of generalized resentment that we personalize. So maybe we're just generally on edge because I can't go to work, or my job is maybe insecure, or I have other kinds of food insecurities or something going on and I'm stuck here, and my stress level goes way up, and you're the handy target. You're the only one I can talk to. So bam, you get it. What do you say about that?
Oh, I think that is definitely true. And I think there are two strategies that I would encourage people to incorporate, because that is the case for many of us, right? If we have anxiety and fear and anger, we're going to displace it on our partner because that person is right there. So, first, Roberta, I encourage people to do self care as individuals. That's so important. If we don't take care of ourselves, if we don't eat and sleep well or according to what our bodies need, if we don't do some type of exercise, get fresh air, we're going to be stressed and we're not going to be healthy or well when we interact with our partner. And then, second, don't let those fears, anxieties, concerns, which we're all having right now because of the situation, fester. Don't let them stay in. So, talk to your partner and use those I statements about you, as you correctly clarified, Roberta. I feel this. I am experiencing this. I'm worried about this. Whatever may be going on with you, but at the same time, don't let it permeate your relationship 24/7. And for many couples, that's what's happening. They're talking about their anxieties, their fears, their concerns, what's going on every single hour and minute of the day. So I'm encouraging couples to talk about it, but set aside a specific time during the day. It could be a family meeting where everybody in the family, kids and parents and extended family members are there at the same time, or with your partner. And that's the time that you share those anxieties, concerns, and fears. So, self care, express those fears and concerns, and setting aside a specific time to do it are all really helpful strategies that I've found for couples right now in the COVID closeness time.
Yeah, that's really important. When we're home all the time, we don't have those designated times like when we go off to work and we come home and there's after dinner time. Well,
Mhm.
all those things get a little blurry when we're
They
home
do.
all the time,
They do.
like, and so it's important to remind ourselves that we used to reconnect after dinner and sit with our coffee, or maybe we have more time to do that now, and yet we're not using it to reconnect. We're doing it to complain about, isn't this awful, and the world is doing us wrong, and then maybe we get into all kinds of unnecessary conversations about conspiracy theories, which is not going to do anything to the tenor of the relationship. So be careful what it is you're injecting into the relationship. And know, too, I'm talking to Dr. Terri Orbuch, and you can find her at Dr. Terri, the Love Doctor. Notice she spells Terry with an I on the end, just in case you put it with a Y, you won't find her.
You won't
So,
find me.
Dr. Terry, thelovedoctor.com. And always, of course, if you want to find me, you can find me at forrelationshiphelp.com. And if you're listening to this and you're listening live, your comments are welcome. And if you're listening to the replay, I will certainly be responding to your comments on Facebook or YouTube. So do that. Terry may do it too. And we want to hear from you. How are you doing? What is it like to be in COVID closeness? Having any new issues? Anything popping up that you didn't know was there? Or are things popping up that you have tried to keep under wraps for a big long time, and now you're dancing around them as fast as you can and they're emerging? What do you say about that, Terry?
I think one of the things that I'm seeing, Roberta, with couples these days is that differences are becoming much more aware or much more out there. Differences between a lot of different things, differences in, for example, the emotional reactions to stress and to COVID-19. One partner wants to go in a corner and read a book and listen to music and go for a walk, and the other partner wants to talk and get support and flush everything out. That's a difference. Another difference might be in news consumption. I'm
Oh,
finding
yeah.
that one partner wants to watch news 24/7, and the other partner is saying, I have no desire to see. Right, exactly. Anything, right? So these, for many couples, not all, but for many couples, are differences that we need to accept, and that they don't mean that the relationship is in trouble or that we're not right for one another. They're just becoming more aware for us. And if you think about it, for most couples, I'm just saying most, not all, there are going to be those differences in general. We're going to have differences because we're not the same person. We didn't come from the same family or background. We have different educations, we're different genders. And so these differences are acceptable. And one of the things that we want to try to do is accept that there will be differences. And so sometimes we need to compromise if it's, for example, an approach to protection within our home or when we go shopping. Sometimes it may be that we need to use empathy or understanding to say, why does my partner feel that way? Let me try to think or figure out or understand why they might be feeling that way. But we want to try to connect, have empathy, and understand, and recognize and accept that there will be differences.
Yes, well, you said a big word that many people don't understand. Certainly, we're not talking about somebody being an alcoholic and you just say, I'm going to accept that. Um, we're
Yeah.
talking about, okay, we're different than one another. And maybe we could lean in and be a little curious about that. Like, when did you first start that habit? Or when did that become your way of viewing the world? And we get a little interested and we lean in. This is a good time. You have time, you don't have to go anywhere. So it might be a good time to lean into your partner and just say, I'm interested in what makes you tick.
Mhm.
Can I ask a question about that? Or it's always an opportunity if you are in a couple relationship where you have even a little bit of emotional intimacy. Now, for some people who are experiencing COVID closeness, this may be the first time in a long time where you've actually noticed these things that you have either not noticed before or you have swept under the rug, and they just keep getting bigger and you keep stubbing your toe on them. And this could be a time of new awareness. You're allowed to say things like, I never noticed before that you and I are different in this way. Do you see that? And
Mhm.
open a conversation, find out what your partner's thinking.
Right. Love that. Now is really the time because you have that space. And you can even start a discussion about how you feel about that behavior as well. And as you said, Roberta, we're not talking about major abuse or substance use that we can't tolerate. Those are called deal breakers to me, and we all have them. Things we cannot tolerate in our partner. We're talking about small, little differences that may have impact on us, but that we can tolerate. Like what we're talking about, different news consumptions, different way we respond emotionally to stress. Um, I want to talk and you want to go to bed. I want to do this and you want to do that. Those are not the behaviors that make or break differences in terms of make or breaking relationships, which is very different than substance abuse kinds of behaviors.
Oh, so much. And, you know, do you really want to be with a partner who's so much like you that you're not even curious about them anymore? you know?
Exactly. And that's really it. Why do we want to be with somebody just like us, right? How
Well, there's
boring.
some research to show that opposites do attract for the reason that we're kind of attracted to the person who has permission to do things that we don't allow ourselves to do. So maybe they're more outright or more flamboyant or more um, overt in their expression of their positions. And we kind of go, oh, look, they can do it and I can't. And we're attracted to that. And then we get into a relationship with them and we maybe secure that relationship. And then the research shows that we actually then start trying to make them more like us. And the
Yes.
more we make them more like us, the least interested we are in them.
Exactly, which is fascinating, right? Similarity, right? At least in those kinds of things, we try to make them like us, and then we're not as attracted to them. And it's really similarity and underlying values that keeps people together, the important key life values that keeps relationships together. And when I'm talking about that, Roberta, I'm talking about the importance of family and children, or the role of spirituality, faith, and religion, not religious denomination, but the role and importance, how much you infuse it into your life, or even how important nutrition and exercise is to you as an individual. Those are the big key life values, and it's similarity in those key life values. But as you said, we can have differences in hobbies and preferences and interests, even some personality qualities, but the key life values are similar. But we like people with different hobbies. And actually, in my research, following these couples over time, when partners had different hobbies and interests, and they brought that different interest into the relationship and talked to the partner about it, it actually added some excitement and interest and passion into the relationship. Wow, I never even knew about, watercolor painting. Show me how you do it. Wow, that's fun. That's interesting. And so we can bring those differences in hobbies and interests into the relationship and add passion and excitement.
And it enriches the relationship for both people. It's not only that I'm interested in what you're up to, but I'm learning something too, and I'm learning something about you. It's not just the activity, it's why do you like it? Why does this float your boat? What is it? So you mentioned your research, Terri. Tell everybody about this fascinating fact about you.
Oh, thank you. Well, I have been following the same 373 couples now for over 32 years. The study is funded by the National Institutes of Health, and 46% of these couples who all got married in 1986 have divorced or lost a spouse due to death. And so when that happens, we continue to follow the individuals. So now I like to say, Rhoberta, that I've been following 746 individuals, about a half of whom are still together and married, and about a half of whom are no longer married to one another. And so I've been interested in what keeps people together and happy in relationships. And then when couples break up, the effects of that loss or divorce on individuals and children, and then who partners and who doesn't repartner, and what are the factors that predict repartnering.
Yeah, it's kind of I mean, it's fascinating study that you've done, and then we add to that the research that shows that when people do end their first marriage and they enter into a second one, the percentage of those that end in divorce goes up.
It does. It actually does go up. Although there are some factors that predict staying together, even in what I call higher order marriages, that would be second, third, and fourth marriages. For example, if you have children together, that predicts that you're more likely to stay together, even if it's a higher order marriage. If you don't merge your finances, it's another predictor of you're more likely to stay together. And so there are factors that will predict second and higher order marriages staying together, even though just on glance, as you said, Rhoberta, those marriages are more likely to divorce than marriages.
Yes, well, I think you said a big thing about later marriages or higher order marriages. I like that. It don't commingle your funds. Like that is something important for us to draw attention to because, you know, after your kids are grown and you had a life and all, and maybe you find a new partner, that's a whole other economic base than it is when you're starting out and you're doing life together. And I think that when older couples commingle their funds, that becomes a stressor because people have planned for their retirement, planned for how they plan to disperse their funds to their children, all kinds of things. Money can be a big manipulation.
And you know what I found in my study, Rhoberta, is that money, regardless if you're in a first marriage or second, third order marriage, regardless, money is the number one source of tension and conflict in couples. Those fights or disagreements or tension last longer, and they're more volatile than other conflicts and disagreements. And I think that has a lot to do with our society and culture as well, Rhoberta. We don't talk about money. We don't learn how to talk about money. And so even when we get in a romantic relationship, we don't talk about it often or if at all with our partner. And it's so important. Study after study, mine included, shows that when you talk about money often with a partner, those conflicts and disagreements are less volatile, they don't last as long, and they're less impactful. They're less likely to affect your happiness and stability as well. So I think, especially now in COVID closeness, talk to your partner about money. What does money mean to you? What did money represent when you were growing up? How did your parents or guardians use money, spend money? What did they spend money on? And because we don't often talk about the meaning of money, and it can represent so many different things, Rhoberta. It can represent love to somebody, it can represent security and stability to other people. It can even mean or represent how well you're doing in terms of your ego and how you think about yourself and your self-esteem. And we differ oftentimes. If your partner has one meaning and you have another meaning, it's just going to be disagreements and tension. We don't
Well,
change our partner's meaning, by the way, but we have
and
to know.
it goes to your point earlier that we kind of meshed over. This is a values thing too. Like,
Yes.
what
Yes.
does, as you say, what does money mean to you? And all of those pieces. But, we have judgments about how people spend their money, have their money, hold their money, don't hold their money, give money away. And we have a lot of judgments about money. And that's a wonderful conversation to have with your partner when you notice that maybe they're watching that television and they're going, that's just a waste of money. Why are they doing that? Like, one of the things that I like to do in my downtime, because I like mindless television at the end of my day, I'll watch something like House Hunters. So these people are off going to buy a house, and you'll hear them say, well, I am just not going to live in here unless everything is updated. And the other person is saying, well, no, we can live with this and then we can slowly make improvements. No, I'm not going to do that. I refuse. Then you start to see, okay, this is interesting. Now, aside from the fact they probably vet these people for being opinionated and makes good TV, but
Right.
it's really what's going on underneath in many relationships is that.
And money doesn't, I mean, money doesn't mean anything, that tangible thing, that dollar, that coin. It's really the meaning underlying it. Absolutely.
Absolutely. And that's a good place for us to end because we could talk forever. I
Yes.
just want to remind everybody you see on the screen, emotionalsavvy.com. That's where you go. Put Dr. Terri Orbuch's name in there, and you will find the great opportunity that we had to talk together. And if you want to find her and learn more about her research and what she does and how she helps people, go to drterrythelovedoctor.com. So glad you were with us. Make sure that you know that you can put comments on Facebook or YouTube. I'll get back to you, answer questions if you have them. And I'm just delighted that you could join me today, Terri. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Rhoberta. It's been great.
It's all good fun. And this is a bonus live stream from Save Your Sanity podcast. So if you would like to listen to more in the Save Your Sanity podcast world, you can just go to saveyoursanitypodcast.com and listen to your heart's content. So I'm bringing you more and more guests every week. So stay tuned. Stay here on the Facebook page, Relationship Help Doctor, and look forward to great conversations. And jump in, ask your questions, make your comments. Talk soon. Take good care of yourself.